There we go. Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. 51 folks so far. We'll have a lot of people joining in as well. But for all those who are here, welcome to another session of Smartlead's Office Hours. My name is Akash, your friendly neighborhood customer success manager here at Smartlead. We'd always like to kick things off with connecting with the audience. So go ahead, click on the chat icon at the center bottom and drop on the comments where you're from, the current temperature in your city, and also let us know if you're an agency, a freelancer, or a part of a SaaS company. We'd love to know. Again, center bottom chat option, click on that, drop on the comments, and we'd love to see that. There we go. Let me open the chat. First one is going to get a free smart server. Keep it coming, guys. Jigar Ahmedabad agency. Love it. Love it.
Hey, Jigar.
18 degrees.
Buenos Aires.
Agency, not a bad weather. Minnesota, USA, 71. Slovakia, 19. B2B
Hey,
Legion.
Mike.
Welcome, Lucas. Welcome, Mike. Dan, Medellin, 19 degrees Celsius. Agency.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark. Kabayan.
Love it. I think it's getting familiar for you as well at this point. You have.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Dubai Mido 34. Khalil. Telex provider of AI agents voice. Amsterdam. Hey, Khalil.
It's Bonnie from India, AI automation agency. Take me to Medi. Count me in as well. Love it. Keep it coming, folks. Keep it coming. We'd love to see this. And about our guest for today, Ehab Darwish is the founder and CEO of iSkala.ai. I was just talking to him about what the name means, and he has an interesting analogy behind it. But Ehab helps a lot of SaaS companies and B2B businesses build consistent flow across the MENA and GCC. These are regions we kind of almost forgot, but that's the reason where this session is going to be interesting. Over the past 3 years, he has hundreds of smart lead campaigns refining GTM systems and outbound strategies tailored to emerging markets. Why is this session important? We're deep diving into outbound strategies with a focus on emerging underrated regions like MENA and the GCC. These markets have different dynamics altogether, right? Personalization is simpler, GTM strategies are leaner, and opportunities are often overlooked. Ehab will walk us through the outreach mistakes he made, the playbooks that now work, and why these underrated markets are a gold mine for outbound. Ehab, over to you, sir. A quick round of introduction, and the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here. I've been a certified smart lead expert for a while, and I'm honored to be here because in that list of certified experts, I actually was learning from a lot of those experts and seeing myself here from people, in the same place where other people I was learning from. It really feels good. Like I feel proud of this moment. So thanks, Akash, for the introduction. So I'm going to share a screen. I will have a brief presentation. I hope you guys find it valuable. Do not judge me on my designing skills. I'm not that good. So that was done on a quick manner. So a quick intro about myself. So my name is Ehab Darwish. I'm the founder of iSkala, as Akash just mentioned. I'm half Filipino, half Egyptian, based in Egypt, born and raised in Egypt. And I run iSkala, and we specialize in building the GTMs for businesses in the Middle East. And a lot of people in the space are always asking me, Ehab, why specifically the Middle East? And I have a reason behind that. First, I'm based there, so I understand the culture, I understand the ecosystem, and I saw it as a good opportunity to compete in a market that doesn't have a lot of GTM experts. And playing in that market would make it easier for me to land on opportunities with with um, uh, with good businesses in the Middle East. So Middle East is an emerging market. So there are a lot of things happening here in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia. I think you guys all noticed that there is some changes happening in the business space in Saudi Arabia and so on. So I'm just trying to take advantage of that. And um, and yeah, that's why I'm here. So that's the core reason, for this session. So we've been working with a lot of businesses, mostly SaaS, so tech businesses. We also worked with a lot of agencies, whether marketing agencies, software agencies, recruitment agencies, and so on. And we got great results with the help of a smart lead and the frameworks that we learned from you guys. So for example, working with a coach, we help them to generate 170 leads in 90 days. They are a corporate wellness app. We also worked with an e-learning platform. Their name is Modern Guild. The logo was supposed to be here, but for some reason it's not there. We help them to get 4,000 signups, and this campaign was running like for 16 months, and was picked as a Smart Leader of the Week last week. And another case working with another fintech, 200 leads in 90 days. Another SaaS, logistics SaaS, 140 leads in 60 days. And there are a lot of other case studies. HR management system, 400 leads in 6 months. A drop shipping business, 200 leads in 60 days. Another AI SaaS product, 92 leads in 60 days. So all of that happened because of really understanding, the offer of the customer and presented in a way that looks attractive to the market, and using the right mix of tools. Definitely Smartlead was one of those tools, but I didn't do that without going through mistakes. So I run an agency. We started like 4 years ago, and we were doing a lot of mistakes, like really, really, I would say things that I did that I'm really maybe embarrassed that I did. Emails that talks about myself more than the lead. Not doing enough research, even sometimes sending emails with the wrong variants. So like if I'm sending to Akash, I'm like keeping the curly brackets without getting it updated. And I believe this is part of the game. You will not learn if you didn't do mistakes, right? So I want to be here like wearing the hat of the expert and showing you guys I'm really like awesome, and like I know how to do like great GTMs, but I wanted to share those mistakes with you guys. So I think Akash, you wanted to say something, right? But
I said 100%. I said
yeah,
100%.
awesome. So top three mistakes, I would say, and those are the things that are really came to my mind when I started thinking what mistakes I'm really thinking of and really learned a lot from, is I've been learning from those GTMs. So I've been following all the thought leaders in the space for like 3-4 years. And one of the biggest mistakes that I did, especially I'm in the Middle East, so is thinking that the plays that I learned from those great guys will work in our culture. And I learned it the hard way, because I tried to get those plays as is to apply it here, and it sometimes it works, sometimes it's not performing, and there are a lot of variables that define if the GTM play will work or not. Some of them are cultural, some of them is related with the TAM. So if like Alex Berman or Eric or those amazing guys did something in the US, they have a privilege of the biggest TAM in the globe. So if they are targeting like HR leaders, so there are like, I would say like more than 100,000 contexts where is enough for them to test, iterate, and then like reach out to another pool of contexts. In the Middle East, it's a different story. I mean, the TAM is really tight, so you need like to make sure that the testing is like well designed, and you play with it carefully so you not burn the the data or the pool of data that you have,
Understood.
right? We're talking here really about a, a very tight market, so you need to play it in a very smart way, right? Second mistake is thinking that if I have a good stack of tools, so I'm using the best stack of tools, like the cutting edge technologies. I'm using Smartlead, I'm using Clay, I'm using those amazing AI copywriter. So like having this good stack of tools should get me results. I mean, there are I've been there. So I actually was thinking of it this way, like if I invested on tech, I should get results, right? And apparently it's not. The tools is a way to accelerate results. So if you have a good offer and you are a good uh, uh, narrator, I mean, if you are good at narrating this offer in a way that looks attractive to your market, then tools will help you to distribute these narratives to a bigger pool of people. And that's pretty much it. So, and I see it a lot, especially here in the Middle East. I see a lot of people coming in thinking of like, build me this great GTM and like build me that stack of tools, and it's a magic wand. It will get us results. It won't. So tools is a way to accelerate. Make sure to invest a lot of time, effort, uh, thinking of crafting the best offer possible, and there you can actually scale it, right?
Right.
Third mistake is pushing really hard on weak offers, right? So this is a typo. So pushing hard on hard weak offers. So we early in the day, we worked with early entrepreneurs or people who do not have the product market fit yet. And as an agency, we're trying to push hard on getting them results while we need to work with them on crafting a better offer and or be transparent with them that, hey guys, this offer needs more validation, or we need to put lead magnets in the mix and so on. So this is something that I learned hard because like we were pushing really, really hard with a lot of customers and the offer is not validated yet, right? So those are three mistakes. I believe a lot of agency owners definitely went through it. I did, and I learned a lot of it, right?
Right.
So I'm coming from a place where I was sending this kind of emails. Like when I started my journey, I was like using a free Gmail account. I was not using the person's name. I was like sending a message that speaks about me. Very weak intro lines, very weak value proposition. I was even attaching the company profile there. I was asking for a meeting really, really early. So I believe going through these mistakes, I learned a lot of it, right?
Right.
So, so speaking of the lessons that I learned of going through those mistakes, that usually better offers makes the sales work or the marketing work easier, right? So if you have a bad offer, then you need a lot of convincing skills or negotiation skills to try to tell them that, hey, this offer, will fix your problem. So it makes the work of sales and marketing really, really hard. So strategically, as a business owner or as a GTM expert, you need to make sure that the offer is crafted in a way that will make marketing and sales easier. Second, a lot of people are like trying to do this fancy GTMs like personalization and um, um, very creative copywriting and so on. But again, if the offer is, I think I'm repeating that again, but it's because it's really, really important, right? The third part, which is personalization, I personally see that personalization is an overrated topic, right? And I'm not saying that it's not important. It is important, and it helps bring good results, right? But I've seen people who are investing a lot of time and money on personalization and like forgetting about important things like crafting a good offer or making the data that goes into this campaign relevant, right? Um, okay. And there is a big difference between relevance and personalization. I believe we can go through this topic throughout our session. And the last thing, which is multi-channel. I see in 2025, multi-channel is a necessity. It's not something that's nice to have, it's a must to have. You cannot neglect or ignore the importance of multi-channel, especially if you're targeting the Middle East, right? And I will explain why, because of the cultural background in the Middle East. Okay. So far, are we good? Is there any kind of questions that you think needs to be addressed?
Just a couple of questions like what's MENA and GCC? I'm handling that, but all good, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I'm seeing you typing, so I wanted to know if are you
Right, there's
typing
one
to me
question.
or it's
Now that you asked,
yeah.
there's one question from Mike, right? So based on what you're saying, offer first and then personalization second when you're targeting the MENA and the GCC region.
I will surprise you. Actually, a big chunk of our campaigns that really got great results did have zero personalization. It's all about nailing the offer and having like a really laser targeted, hand-picked list of leads,
Understood.
and it works. And by the way, one of the good campaigns we were measuring like with personalization and without. And in one of the cases, just writing the campaign in a localized uh, uh, dialect, right, with no personalization versus another one with personalization, the one with no personalization got more results or better results.
Right. And when you say no personalization, Ehab, is it less personalization or is it completely zero? Where you're like, hey there, this is what we do, where you're only talking
Yeah,
about your offer.
yeah. For me, um, I would say just angling the copy towards this niche. So you like having a list of leads who maybe have a signal,
Right.
like using a specific technology or something.
Right.
To be honest, I do not see this as a complete personalization. I see like if you build that list, then this means that we're sending to more relevant leads. So that's what I meant with personalization versus relevance, if that makes sense. I don't know
Absolutely.
if
So if I can conclude, it's basically where you have at least some sort of intent data with signals,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
handpick leads so that it's super refined, and then it's minimal personalization but nailing the offer, and that's what is getting you the results.
yes, that's what I meant. But because from my background, personalization was like writing a copy to someone
Right.
that's is for that specific lead. Um, no personalization for me is like sending the same exact message
True.
to a list of segmented list. Um,
And one other
all
question
right.
to chat to pick up an interesting question, which is, do you write in English or Arabic or any other specific dialect? Ehab, have you kind of
Uh,
done a test, or do you prefer something specific to write emails to?
so in the MENA region, there is no one size fit all.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends first on which country you're targeting.
Right.
So knowing how this country, uh, what's the preference, I mean, of language and so on. So for example, Emirates is unlike Saudi Arabia, is unlike Egypt, right? So Emirates have a more of a multicultural, cosmopolitan,
Mm-hmm.
like people from around the globe
Understood.
are speaking English. So even Emiratis, when they speak business, they speak in English, right?
Right.
I've been meeting with Emirati businessmen, and we both our first language is Arabic, but when we run a business meeting, we run it in English because
Got it.
that's the that's the culture there. It's the business language.
Understood.
Unlike in Saudi Arabia, so Saudi Arabia is was more of it was like a closed country for a while, and now they are open to like digital transformation and like getting more expats into the business.
Mhm.
But the culture of the native is more into Arabic. So if you're talking with a governmental business there, you have to do it in Arabic, right?
Right.
There are also some differences, like if you're reaching out to someone from a city or from Riyadh and Jeddah, I mean the biggest two cities, or from other places. So other cities than those urbanized cities are more into Arabic. So there is no one size fit all, and I will explain later. I think there are some slides where I explain some cases where how we are picking whether we're gonna to send to that exact lead in Arabic or English, because it's an interesting one. I think you guys would like it.
Absolutely. Thank you for answering. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, and so moving to the next one is what's a good offer. So I think in the last 10 minutes I talked about good offer like 20 times. And a good offer for me is an offer that you can put into cold traffic. And cold traffic is like ads or cold outreach in front of people who do not know you, and it converts. And I've seen a lot of people who are having a mix of understanding between what's a cold traffic and what's a warm traffic. So cold traffic is like people who never heard about you,
Mhm.
and just they went into your pipeline just because of knowing that you fix a specific problem to their business, right? A warm traffic is people who heard about you before, attended a webinar, or submitted to a lead magnet that you have. They went into your website or maybe referred from someone. So there is a previous context that make them at least have some trust into what you do, right? So a good offer is the one that you put in a cold traffic and it converts. It and the second point is to make this offer scalable from an operational side. So having an offer this way will make it easier for if you're an agency owner to scale the business, right? Because you're getting same kind of customers, you're repeating the thing over and over to them. And I highly recommend to read the $100 million offer by Alex Hormozi. I believe most of you guys have heard about Alex. If you didn't read the book, please do, because it did change a lot in how I'm understanding business and also how I'm writing copies that explains the offers that I'm trying to market in those cold emails. Okay. So example, what's a good offer? So let me just give some context here. If I said we help e-commerce brands to add leads into their pipeline. So if you package the offer this way, it's very wide, and it's I do everything to anyone, right? So I help any kind of business or any kind of e-commerce to get leads. So it's not specific, um, it's not looking valuable at all. And most likely this kind of offer packaging won't convert, right? Because it miss showing the value. Right? So I would code this. So I learned this from Cole Gordon. He's a sales guru, and I really respect the guy. He mentioned that there is this 3S formula to craft a good offer. So you need to make sure that it's targeted to a specific problem. So you're not fixing all problems of a business. You pick one niche problem, and this problem should go to a specific niche, and you fix this problem with a special way, right? So having those three elements in your offer will make the offer look valuable. Okay, so let me just give you more example on how can we make it more specific. So instead of saying I help all e-commerce businesses or all kind of businesses, specify businesses that you prefer to work with, or businesses that you are capable of getting results, or you have case studies to serve this kind of niche. So saying that, hey, we help Shopify. So we specify that they are Shopify, e-commerce, and they're in the apparel space. So that make the client or the lead that you reach out to understand or see that you are specialized in serving my niche. So you understand it in a better way. And I see value in what you offer, right? And here, just to summarize, the problem is customer acquisition. So I'm fixing customer acquisition. The niche is the Shopify e-commerce apparel. The way is TikTok organic content, right?
Right.
Another example, so niching could be functional. So you help HR departments or sales teams or marketing teams. So it can go functional. It can go geographical. So you can like mention that I help e-commerce apparel in Saudi Arabia to do this and this, right? It could be industry per industry. So there are different angles to niche down and pick your niche. And sometimes I pick a niche and test the marketing narratives there. It's not working. So part of the iterations is to try another niche and so on.
Right.
Right. So here in this example, we help Shopify KSA stores turn their store into a mobile app in 30 days with our custom app builder. Again, specific problem is the slowness of building a mobile app, so it takes time. So just mentioning that you do it in 30 days show a lot of value. Second is niche. I help like Shopify stores who are based in Saudi Arabia. The third is the specific way is like the building the apps through mobile app builder. And by the way, for people who might be asking, KSA is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So because if someone asked about the MENA, I believe they won't know what's a KSA. So KSA is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So how Smartlead helped us to get those previous results, right? And I would love to consider Smartlead as a way to validate your offer. So a lot of people like when they are early entrepreneurs, do not have a validated offer. They think of Smartlead as a way to generate leads first. However, I see it as a validating tool. You can assume as you like that I have this amazing product or I have this amazing service. And using Smartlead will accelerate the testing phase. So I'm distributing this message to the market and I want to see how they will engage. From there, I will decide it's a great offer. People like it. There is a need there. Then I can scale and reach out to more people. Or, hey, I actually reached to 2K of the ideal customer that I'm assuming that they have this problem, and it's time to think of shift. This shift could be changing the offer, changing the target, changing the deliverable, but you need to change something because if you keep doing it this way, it's not working. So I see Smartlead as a way. It's not only a lead generation tool. I see it as a tool that can help you to validate your offer. Okay. And if you have a product market fit, right? So anyone here who's an entrepreneur know what's a product market fit. If not, just drop a message in the chat to further explain. But if you have a product market fit, then it helps you A/B test marketing narratives and see which one works the best, and then you can scale. So it becomes a way to accelerate your lead generation with a very cost efficient, and it really helps getting like key decision makers, because with ads, it's really tough to get like key decision makers into your pipeline. Okay.
Understood. And before we move on to the next slide, just one quick question from the chat here. So wanted to understand how your reply rates are, because Sheila from the chat mentioned out of all the regions, her hardest market is currently Middle East because they hardly respond to the emails. So do you feel compared to the other regions there's something different we do in order to get responses? And how is your reply rate currently?
There is no fixed answer here. To be honest, I see the opposite. I see more engagement from the Middle East than Western markets for different reasons, and I will explain.
Right.
First, the Middle Eastern inboxes are less saturated. I mean, the competition with the Middle Eastern are, you cannot compare them with the US or European inboxes. They get a lot of cold emails and they receive a lot of LinkedIn messages and so on. But if I'm a CEO of a VC-backed startup in Silicon Valley versus in Europe, versus in the Middle East, like in Saudi or in Egypt, or the competition are less. So I usually see more engagement, but I believe it needs to be done in a different way. Maybe you're using the same exact plays. So you're doing the same mistake that I was using like 3-4 years ago. So applying the same plays that you might have learned from the Western GTMs experts, it needs some changes to make it like aligning with the culture and the ecosystem that's happening here in the Middle East. But just to give you, because I know people love to hear numbers. So for me, when I run a campaign, if I saw below 1% reply rate, right, I doubt that there is something wrong with the deliverability. So I need to troubleshoot domains and accounts and maybe create new domains and email accounts. 2 to 5%, then this means that messages are making its way to the inbox. People are responding, so this means that the email is clear, call to action is clear, and so on. So 2 to 5% are usually a good rate. 5 to 15, then you have a great offer. You need to invest a lot here in the cold outreach. And usually I see if someone have a good product market fit, 30% positive reply rate is the sweet spot.
Right.
20 is also good. 10, I would say let's add some lead magnets or valuable stuff or reduce the friction. So if you're asking for a meeting, try to soften your call to action. Yeah, so anywhere between, like, if you're getting 30 to 50% positive reply rates, then this means I would say you have a good offer. You need to focus on cold outreach because you have a gold mine there. You need to invest a lot here.
Understood. Understood. Makes sense. And we just got one golden question from Yusuf, which is, what is your infrastructure like, Ehab? So if you can you tell us how the current setup is, how many mailboxes you have per domain, and which provider you're using, if you may,
Yeah. So you guys, if you have a Smartlead account, you go into the material that Smartlead explain on what's the best practice. It's this is something that the people should teach in universities now because it's a skill that will really change your life. But infrastructure, usually make sure to first, I don't know how to explain it, but let me do it in a way that people can visualize. So one domain, 2-3 email accounts. Make sure that the tenants or the workspaces are isolated. So do not purchase or add more domains under one tenant or one workspace, right? So that's one thing. Make sure to warm up for at least 2 weeks. Now I started like increasing the warm up to 3 and 4 weeks. So that's the second thing. Make sure to do the warm up and comply to the steps that are mentioned in the Smartlead guides. Distribute your infrastructure across different Google and Outlook, and I also use SMTPs, so I'm using Mailreef. Great. I actually saw great results with SMTPs if you're getting 2, 3, 5% reply rates. Amazing. It's very cost efficient. Perfect. Right. try vendors, reliable vendors. So smart senders. You guys onboarded great vendors like Zapmail. So I highly recommend Zapmail as a vendor. They, the options there are great. The pricing is really competitive versus if you are going to get it from Google themselves. So what else about infrastructure?
That's pretty much it. And best practice, I also assume, what is the sending volume like you have? How many emails are you sending per mailbox?
So usually our flagship to run. So we usually work with customers for 3 months, and those 3 months are a testing phase for us to, you know, try to find the message market fit, find a good sweet spot with the targeting. So usually we build an infrastructure of 45 email accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and we start the testing. So the first 2 weeks of the testing with 15 email accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and keep the other 30 warming up for some time.
Right.
And once we have a tested messaging, and if we found the message, we introduce the other 30 email accounts
Mm-hmm.
where they already, you know, were warmed up for a good amount of time.
Understood. Understood. Makes sense. And there's one more question from Alfie, and I would really appreciate your thoughts on this, Ihab. I have a decent positive leads and appointments from GCC. They're quite engaging and show some interest. But the real
Yeah.
challenge is to convert the call into a deal. Still haven't figured this out. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Um, so again, the question. So a lot of demos or interest, but he cannot get them into demos or convert the demos into deals. I'm sorry, I was lost.
Convert the demos into deals. I think that's where the problem is. So he's getting a lot of calls, but how do we convert the calls into deals is the issue.
Um, I assume that you have a new business. Maybe you don't have a lot of case studies. Um, Middle Eastern, I assume also that you have better conversions with Western markets. So maybe I have this theory, right, about Middle Eastern. So Western, like US or European, are more transactional, and they are, once they see value in what you do, they will get right into like doing business with you. Unlike Middle Eastern, it's more of relationship built um, kind of engagement. So if if the Middle Eastern, I mean Egyptian or Saudi or Emirati, so good value on what you do, but the trust or the likability was not there, maybe they won't convert, right? So there is a big um, pillar in converting the demo into a deal is you need to make it more humanized, have some humor, add a lot of human context into the conversation. So Middle Eastern is a very warm culture, right?
Right.
So people are more into religion, more into family stuff, and so on. I know it's a business context, but if you shifted the conversation a little bit into some personal stuff, building relationships, asking about things that are off the business more than the Western. I'm not saying that the Western are not warm and so on. So it's culture. So Egyptians or Saudi Arabians or Emirati would love to get this kind of relationship. If the trust was built, they will buy it, even if they didn't see much value in what you offer. Because, you know, um, I don't think in the Middle East, especially in Saudi Arabia and Emirates, it's a problem of pricing
True.
because um, the appetite of investment in those two markets, especially Saudi Arabia and Emirates, is really high, especially with locals. So they have the capabilities to invest. They just need to make sure that, hey, you're not gonna stab me in the back, or you're not a scammer, or I just want to make sure that I can trust you, right? That's why a lot of sales plays in Saudi Arabia will always ask to have the closer in Saudi Arabia to close the deal on site, right? So remote closing sometimes could be tricky with Saudi Arabians. That's
Right.
why a lot of sales managers or directors or founders, they establish a sales office, just a sales office, one SDR they're in Saudi Arabia. So I have this appointment. I did this demo. Hey, SDR, go visit the client to build this kind of relationship and like move the needle forward. So that's my theory, right? And this is what I saw from dealing with Middle Eastern.
Understood. And Alfie has also posted a follow-up message, right? So he mentioned they have a lot of case studies and portfolios, mostly in SEA and HK. But most of the call, they didn't even move into workshop or the next follow-up call. Perhaps because we have no GCC-based client yet. What do you think, Ehab?
Yes, yes. So there is this conception that, hey, what worked in Europe, what worked in the US, most likely won't work here because it's a different culture. Just to give you some context of how different Saudi Arabians or Middle Eastern than the rest of the globe. So X or Twitter is the most used social media platform, not Meta, not Facebook. So most Saudis use Twitter or X for the social media stuff. Snapchat is one of the most trending social media apps there, unlike the rest of the globe, right? And there is a reason behind that because the Snapchat have high level of security. You can like post a video and then delete it and so on. So the way this market thinks is different. So if we thought that just having case studies that worked at any other countries will work in Saudi Arabia, I think it's a different case. So what you need, and this is my assumption, is to have some credible names in Saudi Arabia, right? So you need to build some case studies in Saudi Arabia and testimonials to make to make things work.
And relevant.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
100%, right?
Yeah. Couple of questions coming your way. Just two more quick questions. One from Danny. How do we get into the UAE market? And should we do outreach with a direct offer or should we build rapport with them and then try to get reply and then shoot?
I don't know. A/B test it, man. If you have two assumptions, just A/B test it. For me, it differs from one market to another. So if you're talking about UAE is one of the most diverse countries in the globe. I mean, it's a mix of uh, Arabs, Middle Eastern, Indians, Pakistanis, Europeans. So there is a big mix there. So in one industry, you might find a culture that's totally different from a different culture. So the UAE is really is a different case, but I would deal with the UAE as maybe it's closer to the European market. So it's some sort of, yeah, they are in the GCC, but they have some Western culture because I don't know, but the Emiratis, I mean the Arabs, I mean the locals are representing less than 10% of the whole country, right? The rest are expats from the Philippines, from India, from Pakistan, and so on. So make sure to know and understand how this industry, like for example, in Emirates, most of the tech business are Indians and Pakistanis, right? So make sure that if you're going to reach them out with something that relates to them, right? If you're from India and Pakistan, you're reaching out to someone from there, make sure to see where they're from Pakistan or where they're from India, and try to use this as your angle to do the icebreaker and so on, right? Unlike if you're reaching out to another industry that have more of Egyptians or Arabs, then it's a different story. So this is why Emirates is a hard market because it's a mix of different cultures, right? But I will explain down there maybe things like, am I going to reach out them in Arabic or English? Because that's something. If I want to reach out to Indian and Pakistanis in Emirates, what can I do? Because nationalities, there is nothing that's organized in a way that will say, hey, I can find list of Egyptians in Emirates or list of Pakistanis in there. So that will be in our last slide. So stay tuned you want to know how can we find nationalities in a specific country. Okay,
Let's go.
cool. All right. Um, okay, question. Why MENA? Why GCC? For those who do not know, GCC is Gulf something, but Gulf is the countries who are around. Uh, I don't know what the second C is for.
It's Gulf Cooperation Council.
Okay, yeah, Gulf Cooperation Council, yeah. So those are the countries who are within the Gulf area. MENA is the Middle East, North Africa. So nowadays, those markets are hot targets because first, the economy there is really stable for a while. While, when there was COVID and there was a lot of, instability with the US dollars and euro and like war is happening everywhere, the Saudi economy was solid and growing and booming, right? So same thing in Emirates. The economy there is really stable. The currency is like stable for a very long time. So it's a destination now for entrepreneurs. I mean, in Emirates, the tax system there is like amazing. So it's the destination of a lot of Europeans or Americans or Egyptians to start their business there, right? So they are um, a great launch pad for businesses, right? Saudi Arabia is also coming to become one of the main business hubs in the globe, right? So they have this Vision 2030 where they want to position themselves as one of the top 10 countries in all fields, and they're investing a lot on digital transformation and laws and legislations that will help tech to grow and so on. So the market is really emerging. The market is underserved, right? And the appetite for investment is really, really high, right? So I've seen a lot of people are like asking me, hey, I want to start up there in Saudi Arabia, but I don't have the plays. I don't know how to generate leads from there and so on. So that's why I'm here. I'm one of those guys who can help if anyone want to penetrate those kind of markets. I'm from there. I did a lot of GTMs there, right? Um, the next is how is the Middle Eastern or the MENA and the GCC are different from the Western markets, right? So first thing, as a GTM, uh, the data coverage in US and in Europe is uncomparable with what you can find here. So there is a big gap of data. And you guys, anyone who might have an idea of covering this market with good data source, and this is for Smartlead guys, if you manage to build an Apollo or Zoom Info for the GCC, that's a gold mine, right? So it's always limited, even with big countries. So Egypt is 100 million population, so it's a big country. Saudi Arabia is, I think, it's 20 or 30 million population. So the market is big, and there are a lot of businesses coming in here, and there is a big gap in the data, in the availability of data, right? Second, the inbox competition. I think I mentioned that earlier, but in the Western market is highly competitive, right? So if we're talking about HR tech like ATSs or HR management systems, I do not think that there is an established business in Europe or in South in the West world that have maybe 20 or 30 employees who do not have an ATS or do not have an HR management system. However, in maybe in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, you will find maybe even bigger who do not have this digital transformed processes. So it's a good opportunity if you have a business to promote for that tool in those like less served markets, and it's less competitive. Working hours, I've been amazed that a lot of Western do not know that the working hours in the Middle East are different. So like in the Western world, it's Monday to Friday. In the Middle East is more of Sunday to Thursday. There are some changes in the Emirates working hours. So they started taking Sundays off. That's why they're like more Western.
Right.
However, in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, sometimes people work Saturdays. So, and yeah, so Saturdays sometimes is a good day to send cold emails,
Right.
right? This is something that a lot of people do not know. So just knowing this very small info will make, because if you missed Saturday, it's a good percentage of your sending capacity. So just knowing that I can send on Saturdays, you added like more capacity to your pipeline, right? Business language. So Western world, more of English. In the Middle East, it's multilingual. UAE, definitely the English is the main language, but you will find a lot of communities of Pakistanis, Indians, Filipinos. So if you're targeting an industry around those, maybe you can send a message in a Filipino, Tagalog, I'm sorry, or in Arabic to Arabic communities and so on. So that's one thing about Emirates. In Saudi, it started, so like 4 or 5 years ago, the majority of the country was more of uh, local Saudis, Egyptians, and a lot of Indians and Pakistanis. But recently, a lot of expats from Europe and from the US are coming to the US. So sending a message in Arabic was a no-brainer back on the days. But now you need to find out more. If I'm sending to someone who's not Saudi or who's not Egyptian,
Right.
to make the message resonate. And I will explain that in one of the slides down there. Sales cycle in the Western, it's faster and transactional. In the Middle East is slower and it's more relationship driven. I think we discussed that like 2 slides ago. And that was, I think, Yusuf who asked this question. So usually sales cycle in the Middle East are slower. And I don't know how do you call it in English, but it's more bureaucratic. So you need to get approvals from a lot of departments or key decision makers in the loop. Unlike in the Western world, if you're speaking with someone who's taking care of this department, the approvals will come really quick, right? So this is something that it's very common in the GCC. Regarding the preferred channels in business in the Western world, it's more of an email and LinkedIn, right? However, in the GCC, WhatsApp man. So I've seen, I'm not kidding. I've seen actually a governmental deals are closed on WhatsApp and really, really confidential info, right? That
Right.
are it's so the I believe, or I actually know that the Middle East is one of the highest smartphone penetration rates in the globe, right?
Right.
So they're using, smartphones a lot. WhatsApp is a big deal there. So this is why multi-channel, right? You can start with email, but it cannot be your only channel, right? You need to reach out on emails and like consider the WhatsApp in the mix and LinkedIn as well. But this is very important.
Right.
That's part of the culture.
True.
Also, cold calls is great. So I've seen a lot of big names generate lots of from cold calls,
Understood.
right?
I think that's what Sheila mentioned as well, right? Because she mentioned she's getting a lot of replies on WhatsApp than on emails. So all the
Yeah,
more true.
yeah. But I personally do not like to start to make the first touch on WhatsApp because WhatsApp have this personal use more of business. So I usually start with email as the first touch, and I use this as a follow up that hey, I reached out on email, and I thought it
Absolutely.
would be easier to reach you out here on WhatsApp. So it just giving some context because usually Middle Eastern will ask you how did you get my number and so on. So I just wanted to share that there is a previous context. So it works better this way, but 100% more replies from WhatsApp in the Middle East,
Got it.
right? Saturation. So I believe almost all industries are saturated in the Western market, unlike in the Middle East. I believe I already mentioned that. Holiday impact. So the public holidays that are in the Western world are different. So in Saudi Arabia, which is I would say one of the biggest markets, it's mostly Ramadan and Eid. So Ramadan is a whole month, right, where people are fasting um, almost for the whole day. So this would impact when are you going to send your campaign, right? So I saw higher reply rate after breakfast, and breakfast is I think it's like 5 or 6 p.m. by the time.
Right.
So strategizing your campaign during that month to send the messages in the other half of the day sometimes works. Sometimes like I see replies coming during dawn time because the prayers. Um, so yeah, consider that. And usually deals will delay
Mhm.
during the Ramadan time. The prayer calling is happening. Is it disturbing or is it not?
It's not. It's not. We don't hear it.
Okay, good. Okay. Um, so far, are we good? Any questions about this
Like,
before moving?
we do have a big question from Anton, but I'll save it for the end. Nothing related to this. And for your point, Ehab, on your highlight for Smartlead regarding data coverage, just 2 lines. We heard you. Stay tuned.
I'm excited. Okay, here are some examples. Let me just expand that. How language really makes a difference. So this is a recent campaign with a client we have targeting e-commerce brands, and he had this theory that hey, we need to reach them out in English because that's my, and we said fine, let's give it a go, but I need to test with one Arabic campaign because I believe this one will get more traction, right?
Got it.
And the results are clear. So as you can see here, 3 campaigns, um, um, almost one positive reply, just one positive reply. And the Arabic campaign, even with less number of leads, we got more traction, right? And those numbers are good, like 2% reply rates and like 66% positive reply. All that we need here is to add more leads into this campaign, right? So using the right language, whether Arabic or English, to the right audience will make a big difference, right?
Right.
Um, Another thing that also a lot of people do not know about e-commerce in the Middle East. So if I'm thinking e-commerce, I will always think of the mainstream platforms, Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, and so on. It's a whole different story in Saudi Arabia. Shopify is having 10% of the market share. Another platforms which are local players built for Saudi Arabians are having the majority of the market share. If I'm from a different market, if I'm from India or Pakistan or Europe or US, and I'm trying to target the Saudi Arabian market, and when I go to store leads and try to filter, brands who are using Shopify, I'm missing the rest of the market, right? So knowing that those platforms exist will also make a big difference because first, those platforms are are having less competitions in their inboxes, right? So when you reach them out, you have more likelihood to get responses, right?
Yep.
Uh, Regarding WhatsApp, I've mentioned that already. So first touch email, consider like to add the follow-up on WhatsApp some way. For those who do not know the waterfall enrichment tools like Clay, you can use Clay to get phone numbers. You can use Better Contact or Full Enrich to get phone numbers, but it's a game changer, right? So consider WhatsApp in your mix. Yeah, last things, and then we will have the Q&As. So business case. So we had this customer in the real estate sector, and they were targeting high income Egyptians who are living in the GCC and have 10 plus years of experience. And why? Because people in Egypt, the real estate business, the majority of buyers are Egyptians who live abroad because they have higher income. So what we did here, it was challenging to try to find a way to get Egyptians like by nationality in a country, right? And what we did is we leveraged the Sales Navigator school filter. And this is something that people like, wow, this was like school filter. So if you filtered people who are graduate from the Cairo University, or if I'm targeting Indians, Delhi University or Islamabad or whatever university in Saudi Arabia, then the probability of this person to be Egyptian or Indian or Pakistani is high, right? So, and the quality of lead was exceptional, right?
Right.
And the result here that we found a pool of 90K, right? Of people who match their persona. And this was an untapped market, right? So just reaching them out, those guys were blown. I mean, the lead were asking, I couldn't imagine that I would be reached out, right, by someone from there, by this approach. And they were asking, how did you know that I'm Egyptian? And how did you get my context? So people are like really blown away with how it's been done, right? Same thing. So if you're a Filipino and you want to target Filipino communities and Filipino businesses who are in UAE, you can do the same thing. I think you got the concept. The second case study was it was a management consulting business, and they were targeting SMEs and C-level and CFOs and CHROs, but they wanted to make sure that an Arabic message will be sent to someone who preferred to use Arabic, and an English message will be sent to an expat who is using English, right? So I think this is easily done. I think you can pick the profile language inside of Sales Navigator or in Clay. So Clay also have that option. So you can know before sending that this person have a preference to, to receive something in Arabic or English or Spanish or whatever, right? I think that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the session and found it valuable. I think it's time for Q&A. I cannot believe that I kept talking for an hour, but I'm really talkative and I'm really passionate about cold
Absolutely.
outreach. And yeah,
Absolutely. This was
that's
super insightful, yeah, because now, apart from what we talk in common, which is about deliverability and stuff, this kind of enabled all of us to open to a new market, right? And it's interesting because it's more of a market analysis that you did. So I think this is all the more reasons we kind of know what to do now before kind of targeting MENA and the GCC. So thank you so much for that. And one question from the chat from Danny. So if we can go back to the screen share you were doing, you were showing a couple of campaigns, right? So I saw KC there, so I assumed it's to Saudi Arabia. But are those campaigns being sent out to Dubai or UAE as well?
no, but it's in the plan.
Mhm.
Um, I believe we will approach them with a different angle. So, for example, this campaign was targeting more of the Zed and Salla
Okay.
platforms. I mean, those two guys. I mean, those two platforms,
Right.
and easily you can get leads from here because the competition in the inbox is relatively lower.
Right.
But for Emirates, we will go for like Shopify because Zed and Salah is not commonly used there as in Saudi Arabia. So more of like the Western kind of plays.
Got it. Got it. Perfect. I pick up one more question from the chat. Would you say it is even possible or worth it for somebody in the lead generation space to go into the GCC market?
Would I say even it's possible or worth for someone to penetrate the GCC market?
Yes.
As an as an owner of an agency there, I would say, guys, no. But I would say yes, definitely. So I see the market is growing. I see the market is really underserved, and I see the market it just need a different approach. So I 100% recommend the market to anyone who have an agency to run a business there.
Got it.
Yeah.
Understood. And
Did that answer the question?
it did for me, and I hope it
Yeah.
answered for Aurelio as well. So, coming back to something that you already answered, which is what is the preferred language when you're reaching out to UAE market, right? So, you did mention since you see a lot of people from everywhere, you mentioned it's going to be English because that's their business language. But just wanted to confirm if it's the same. Is English the preferred language when you're reaching out to UAE?
Yes, 100%. So 90% of the cases would be English.
Mm-hmm.
As I've mentioned earlier, I actually did a lot of convos with locals. I mean, I'm speaking with Egyptian
Right.
or Emirati. We both have the same first language, which is Arabic, right?
Right.
And we run the whole conversation in English. Why? Because if you live there, I mean, in the Emirates, sometimes you do not know if that person they're speaking with is like Egyptian or speaks Arabic or not. So it's easier for me to speak English so everybody understands.
Got it.
So it became the norm there. So I would go for reaching out to the UAE market in 90% of the cases in English, unless
Mm-hmm.
if you have a like an outlier example or case that you want to make it like more relevant to specific community or nationality.
Understood. Understood. And one more interesting question from Sheila, which is from your experience, is having an Arabic speaking SDR an added advantage to handle the MENA region?
Yeah. So that's my advice. If you guys are not an agency, right? So if you have a product or and you have a global team, 100%
Right.
you need an Arabic speaker SDR.
Mm-hmm.
If in Saudi, sometimes people prefer to have an SDR who is Saudi Arabian because in the Saudi culture, if I'm Saudi Arabian and I'm dealing with someone from Saudi, I will have more trust than other nationalities. So I highly recommend to do that if the GCC is one of your target markets,
Right.
to have someone from the culture
Mm-hmm.
who can serve that. If you cannot afford to get Saudi Arabians because maybe they're higher in salaries, consider to bring someone from around this culture. So Egyptians are fine, Algerians, Moroccans, Jordanians, or Syrians, or Lebanese. So there are different countries who have understanding of the culture.
Understood. Thank you so much. So, folks, the floor is open for questions. If you want to shoot your questions directly to Ehab, there's a React option at the center bottom. Click on that. You'll see an option called Raise Hand. Click on that option, turn on your video. I'll spotlight you and you can shoot your questions directly. But while you do that, I have a couple of questions from Anton, which we kind of pushed back, quickly shooting them to you, Ehab, right?
That was pushed back for a while, man. Sorry, Anton.
Sorry
Apologies,
for that.
man.
It was big, right? So I wanted to kind of keep it for the end. So, three questions from Anton. I have some culture related questions about working in the MENA region. The first one: what are the most critical cultural missteps or absolute taboos I should be aware of when conducting business in MENA markets? Are there any?
Uh, yeah. So a lot of a lot of businesses, when they outreach or they approach Saudis or approach, they deal with them as a bag of money, right? And
Mhm.
this is one of the worst things that you would do to someone from, if the lead felt that you are, greedy or trying to raise pricings just for their nationality, that will have a very negative impact, because I've seen that a lot, especially from Egyptians, right?
Right.
Where um, I've seen, like, I have two pricings. So I will charge Egyptians like low rates, but for Saudis, I will raise the pricing like 10 times.
Right.
And that is a behavior that, if was caught, you know, it's a definitely deal breaker. So, and people now are really smart to do their due diligence and so on.
True.
Um, that's what I have in mind. I believe there are two other questions.
Yes, the second question was already answered, is what Anton also said, which was answered. So I'll jump directly to the third question, which is how receptive are local business contacts to direct outreach from Western professionals? Should I consider working through local intermediaries or cultural liaisons, or is a direct business development typically well received?
Depends on which niche you're targeting. Okay. So I'm just going to give you just some little context that will show you that there is no one size fit all thing. So if I'm dealing with, if my niche is HR functions, like the HR functions in Saudi Arabia is Saudized. I mean, the country by law is making sure that all HR related titles
Mhm.
are Saudis. So no expats there,
Right.
right? So if you're targeting them, I would say you need some Arabic or some cultural context. You need someone who speaks the language. Maybe you need someone who's there or a mediator or so on. Okay. However, if we're talking about the tech space, I mean, people who have SaaS and so on, those kind of Saudis are highly educated. They were educated in like Europe and US and so on, and they're open to speak with Westerns, and they're open to get like this kind of regular business development from the Westerns.
Right.
So again, it depends on your niche, right? If you're targeting governmental entities, right? Governmental entities, yet they speak in Arabic and they do the communication in Arabic, but they want to present themselves as top. So they will not accept, I would say, locals or low players. They will always go for top kind of brands and so on. So they want, if the management consulting, it will be Deloitte or PwC and so on. So that's the governmental mindset. So
Got it.
they're open to the Westerns. So it depends on on the on the niche.
Understood. Understood. And since we're here, I'll also reiterate the second question once again. So, could you highlight key cultural and business practice differences between MENA countries that are most open to Western partnerships? I'd appreciate insights on how approaches might vary between different markets in the region.
So culture, key cultural and business.
Practices. Yep. Cultural and business practice differences between MENA countries that are most open to Western partnerships.
I think I answered, but
You did. You did. You did.
yeah, I think so he's asking for which niches or
I was asking for if there is a cultural difference, and if yes, he'd appreciate insights on how the approach might vary between these different markets in the region.
um I believe the Excel, the chat, the sheet that I shared does explain that.
It does. And you kind of went through it as well. So I'll maybe save time, but we have a lot of
Yeah,
requests on the chat asking if you can share the sheet. So if you can do it, would really appreciate it. But if not, it's perfectly fine.
I'm happy to share, everything, right?
Absolutely.
So
Thank you so much for
yeah,
that.
all right.
Perfect.
I see Vikas.
Because it's been up for a long, because if you can turn on your video, I'll quickly spotlight you. And if you can unmute yourself, you can shoot your questions. There we
Yeah,
go.
hi.
That is
Yeah,
perfect.
hi
Hey
Akash,
man,
and hi. First of
hey
all,
man.
thank you so much for this amazing session you gave. Yeah, it is quite fruitful for people, especially like me, who have zero idea about lead generation, zero idea about marketing. I have no idea, but I've been exploring this thing since last 1.5 month or 2 months. So I actually run a side hustle where I provide services to all SaaS, every company which runs their infrastructure online for providing, vulnerability pen test for which is required for audits and all those things. So my question is very simple. Like, let's assume most of my targets are SaaS, for example. I'm using Smartlead. I've used it, and I'm probably going to get the paid version. To be honest, I was trying it because I have no idea about how these things work. But this has helped me. The free trial has worked a lot on
Yeah.
understanding how things go and all those things. So when we are targeting SaaS, for example, doesn't matter. Any product which has an option to log in for their customers is my target. Now, what is the right or how effective is email only? Or do you think if you want to give a ratio that 50% on email, 50% on Twitter, 20%, I mean 40, 20, something like that, how much would you divide within social media platforms, LinkedIn and emails, and how effective it would be?
Okay. So first thing, you mentioned that any business who have a login is a customer of yours. I
Yeah.
would not go with this track. I would
Mhm.
highly recommend first to segment who you're going to target just to make sure that the offer is like looks more valuable. So if you're going to target like SaaS owners, pick a niche, maybe in real estate, SaaS businesses, or maybe if you're doing penetration test and just I believe this is something is related with
Yes.
high security. I would say fintech would
Yep.
appreciate what you do more than others. So
Yeah.
first thing, like do not do the mistake that I used to do before is to target everyone,
Yep.
right? So make sure to pick an industry. So maybe financial or fintech, or businesses who hold
Data. High data.
valuable
Yeah.
data.
Customer.
Yeah. Second, so you cannot distribute the sendings or the percentages, because with email it's very scalable. So
Yeah, I agree.
you can send to 1,000 easily, but with LinkedIn you're limited. If you have one LinkedIn account, then you should like you can just connect with 25
Yes.
25 connection per day. So scalability on LinkedIn would be a tough game. What I would do in this case, right? I would pick the top tier customers. I mean, the priority to LinkedIn, right?
Mhm.
And if you're going to play the volume game, do it on Smartlead with emails, right? And that's how I see it. But like the distribution, like how many percentages, it also depends on how big is your data or how big is your TAM, right?
Okay.
So there is no fixed percentage. It depends on
Mhm.
what kind of data that you have. Is it big? Is it small? Did you tier
Okay.
them and strategize it in that way? But the more multi-channel you go, the more chances you will get leads. I mean, if you're doing only 50% LinkedIn, 50% emails,
Mhm.
it's a different case if you did WhatsApp, email, LinkedIn,
Yeah.
uh, X, right? Um, but by far the cheapest to generate lead is I think cutting.
Okay.
Getting
Uh,
cut a little bit, Ehab. I think it's the internet.
I can hear
Yeah,
Akash.
Yeah, I think Ehab, he did mention this Empower outage. So
Yeah.
is you're getting cut off a little bit, Ehab, but I hope that answered your question. Man is back. There we go.
Yep. Yep.
I'm back.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Ehab. So, I mean, I'm not sure if I should. So, just one simple and dumb question before I'm done with this thing. So, when you say response rate of 20%, 10%, 30%, what is the number of lead? I think he just
Dropped off.
dropped. Okay. No worries.
But feel free to reach out to him on LinkedIn because he's open to kind of
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
just drop an email to him. Yeah. Take
Yep.
it away. Thank you
Yep.
so much. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Any more questions? Let's see if we have us joining back. We'll give it a minute, but we pass the
I'm
session.
here. I'm here.
There
I'm here. I'm here.
we go. There we go. There we go. So Vikas just left, but I've kind of told him to reach out to you on LinkedIn if that's okay, Ehab. So, in case if he has any more questions, thank you. You'd be helping him out. But last two questions for the session from the chat. First one is from Ayub. Is targeting leads on the social platforms, for example, X, Snapchat, would work since there are not a lot of data about leads in the region?
I would say X could work, but also depends on the niche. If you're targeting like solopreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, yeah, go for it. But with high profiles, I would say people would say it's some would see it's a personal space. But I would say with X, that's fine.
Right.
With the Snapchat or Meta, maybe it's tricky. I would go for going multi-channel with WhatsApp, and again, that's my assumption. So I would go for emails, LinkedIn, X, WhatsApp. So those are the main channels. I would really use. The real problem is enriching data with X and just knowing that the title of that guy or it might be a tough game. But yeah.
Makes sense. Awesome. And last question for the day, right, from Danny. What industries or niches has a lot of money to invest and are in need of digital solutions in GCC? Do you have any idea?
In need of digital solution is a wide
Topic.
thing. Yeah.
Web design.
Web design. I don't know about any any business. But from what I've seen, businesses who have good financials, mainly the tech space, real estate, insurance. The thing is, an industry is wide. It depends. You can actually target high-paying businesses in an industry. But again, I do not have a specific answer to this one.
Understood.
But yeah, those what I have in mind. So
understood. Fair enough. And one question from Sheila. What is one advice you can give an SDR in EdTech?
In EdTech?
Yes, sir.
Okay. EdTech.
Make more.
We have a great case. Yeah, I have a great case study about it, but I want to know what kind of EdTech are you targeting? Is it B2C? Is it so what's the offer? B2B?
We'll wait for that.
Sheila?
While
Sheila's
got, but it's B2B and focusing on MENA.
B2B and focusing in MENA. Yeah, so I would say your target will be mainly learning and development managers, directors, and this kind of department. Be aware that the data there is really, really tight. I just served an e-learning client, and I believe the total number of leads in that space is 6,000 contacts, right? So playing it smart is really, really important. Make sure to try to find as much as signals possible, intent signals with this list of L&D titles. Try to segment them. I mean, yeah, they're in the L&D, so this is an enough niche to angle the message, but try to segment them by industries. So let's say, for example, if you're an e-learning platform who have courses for project management and courses for English and courses for customer service. So try to niche down the targeting based on businesses who might have engineers and PMO in their team, and angle the message that, hey, we help real estate businesses to equip their engineers with project management courses. So just make sure to make it as narrow and niche to each target So if we have a list of 6,000, make sure to segment it into smaller lists of 500s and distribute a message that align with each of those segments.
Understood. Makes sense. And one question from AB. Assuming if you had to do a penetration test, what suggestions do you have for a sample of size of emails in a campaign? B2B software, PMF yet to be established.
So what penetration test? I mean, to penetrate a market?
Yes, if you have to do a penetration test to kind of test multiple markets, what suggestions do you have for a sample size of emails in a campaign?
Yeah, again, I received this question a lot, and there is no one answer. For me, I would always go for the more the better. I mean, the bigger the sample, the better insight you will see.
Right.
However, if you send 1 to 1,000 or 2,000, and you didn't get results at all, no replies, no positive replies, it's time to consider. However, the one thing I would like to mention, some industries like custom software development. Okay, so custom software development is one of the toughest niches because the amount of supply that is in the market. So that's for, I can't remember who was doing web design. So the amount of competition in that market, this is a saturated market, regardless where you are. I mean, if you are in Mars, you will find people who can do development work for you. So the ratio of getting a positive reply from number of leads that you reach out to, sometimes it reach 1,000 or 2,000. So you get an opportunity out of 1,000 or 2,000 contacts versus another client that we've worked with in the EI sales coaching, new market emerging. We were getting one positive reply out of every 100 lead we're reaching out. So the ratio is different, right? And there is a big variance here. So in some industries, the sample should be at, I mean, for custom software development, at least you need to send to 10,000 to validate the offer because it's 1 to 1,000 versus emerging markets. It's the ratio are less.
Fair enough. Absolutely. And I just saw Hussein's message. So after seeing that, AB, I believe you were asking about penetrating into the market, not the pen test, which is related to
pen test. Yeah. Because I've been in the cyber security and I know penetration test is pen test. So it's it's a different narrative.
Absolutely. And one last question from Minoba, which is we're having a good open rate 40%, but no replies yet. What do you think could be the issue? The growth marketing agency, thanks. Firstly, from my end, never do open tracking because none of the people I talk to are doing open tracking. That could be a reason why you're not getting replies because if your emails are not going to the inbox, no replies, right? So to Ehab's point, if you are used to it and if you still want to kind of find a reason as to why you should not do open tracking, do an A/B test, have one campaign with tracking enabled, have one with tracking disabled, and you will see a difference. And when I say plain text, it's not just disabling tracking, have no HTML, make sure the first email is clean at least. Even if it's crucial for you to add links, etc., don't do it to the first email. Do it once you generate replies, or if it's way more crucial than that, then do it on the follow-up emails. But that could be a reason why Minova. Awesome. But that's all we had for the day, Ehab. Thank you so much. I think more than best practices and tips, this session has enabled us to kind of target a new market now. And this was absolutely lovely. Anything before we part ways, sir?
Thank you guys for joining. Thanks, Akash and the team for hosting me, guys. I would love to take any other questions. If you can connect with me, I'm active on LinkedIn. Most of my posts are in Arabic, so make sure to hit the translation button if you want to read what I'm doing. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help and support. That's all what I have. Thank you, guys, and have a good one.
Absolutely. And Ehab, people have already started asking you for the next session. So this is first of many. We'll soon have Ehab on one more session of Smartlead Office Hours. And Ehab, if you can drop your LinkedIn on the chat if possible, I think it would be easy for people to connect with you as well.
Right away, guys. You are a GTM, guys. You can find me easily, but I will drop my pretty LinkedIn
also the
in the
PowerPoint.
chat.
And also the PowerPoint, if you can.
And the PowerPoint. All right. Share viewer. Here we go.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ehab. Thank you so much for taking the time for the session. As I always say, 3 consistent things in life: death, taxes, and office hours every Thursday. I'll see you all on the next one. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.